Breaking news on WCBS 880. Reports of a shooting at a hotel and catering hall on Long Island's Gold Coast in Huntington. There is an aircraft down in the Hudson River. Donald John Trump, according to the Associated Press, has been elected the 45th President of the United States.
I wanted to go into sports when I was young. When I was in high school, I was an athlete, but I wasn't a great athlete. So to stay close to it, I thought, well, maybe I could be a sports announcer. And that's what I actually started in college as a sports announcer. But I had some wise professors who said, why don't you try a little bit of everything in radio? So I was a DJ, okay at that, but not great. But then I started doing some news, and I really liked doing the news and telling stories. And of course, it was different every day. You know, when you're a DJ, the same songs day after day after day can get kind of old. But the news, there's always something new every day. You never know what's going to happen on any given day, and that's something I really like. So it started from there. We were on the air on WCBS in our old studios at the CBS Broadcast Center in Midtown on West 57th Street. We were on the air. It was just kind of a typical afternoon. There was nothing special going on. I can't tell you what the top story was on that given day before it happened. And all of a sudden, the phone started ringing in the newsroom, and somebody called in and said, I think a plane just went down in the Hudson River. And, you know, in the newsroom, people are like, yeah, all right, thanks. But then there's another one and another one. And on our news wire, we have a police wire. And sure enough, it started reporting an aircraft down in the Hudson River, and so you sit up and you take it, real seriously. And we were able to get some information on that, made some phone calls. We sent our reporters out there, and it really was a great story. And one of my endearing memories from that day, two of them really, and one of them was our reporter Peter Haskell, who's still with us here at WCBS. Peter was on the the bike path along the Hudson. And the tide was going out on the Hudson at something like 6 knots. It was a pretty strong tide going out. So that plane was floating down the river. And Peter was reporting live on the radio, literally having to fast walk or run down the river to keep up with the plane. It was floating away. And a couple of times he'd come on the radio and he'd be apologizing that, I'm sorry, I'm a little out of breath, but I'm having to run to keep up with the plane as it went down the river. And the other enduring memory that I have from that day is when we found out that a plane had gone down in the river and everyone was okay. And I remember just kind of sitting there for a moment, kind of, I think I kind of even took off my glasses and just kind of went like that, thinking, wow, because when this first started, a plane going down in the water, there's never been a successful water landing of an aircraft like that. It's going to be bad news. This is going to be a tragedy. And the fact that it ended with everybody surviving with no real serious injuries was really just amazing, and I was almost overcome by that. Oh, I love being the Bulls announcer, and I love my time with the Knicks too. It dated back to my time in high school. Actually, I was cut from my sophomore high school basketball team. And they had, this is back in the 1970s, they really didn't have an announcer for high school basketball back then. But I didn't make the team as a sophomore, and I kind of had this idea that I wanted to go into being a sports broadcaster. So kind of invented at my tiny little high school with, graduating class of 100 people, maybe 400 people in all in the high school, being the PA announcer for basketball. And then when I went on to college, I did some more of that, and it just kind of expanded from there. I ended up doing public address announcing for soccer in the 1984 Olympics that were held out in California, and started with a couple other sports out there. And then I went to Chicago in the mid-'80s, caught on with the Bulls. I was with them for 17 seasons, maybe. I started right before their first championship, the year before their first championship, went all through the championship years, through some very lean years after that, and then came to the Knicks, and I think I had 9 seasons, 7, 8, 9 seasons, I think, with the Knicks. And it was a lot of fun. I mean, a lot of great experiences. You come across a lot of characters. I mean, you know, I'm one of the very few people who ever got to say, "From North Carolina," you know, the whole Michael Jordan introduction. So, you know, that was a big thrill, and it was something a little different from the news that I did that really kind of balanced out my life and was a lot of fun. Well, fake news to me it's a misnomer, because I think fake news has become everyone's answer to a story with which they don't agree or they don't like the reporting. You know, you watch something on television or you read something in the New York Times or you listen to a story on WCBS and say, well, I don't like that. That's not fair to my person, to my president or my member of Congress. I don't like it. That's fake news. No, it's not. It's just because you don't agree with the factual reporting, and I'm going to underline that word factual. I mean, the reporting has to be factual. But just because you don't agree with it doesn't make it fake news. I don't care if you're the President of the United States or a listener or a viewer of television. You can't just, well, you can, but you can't rightfully just label something fake news because you don't agree with it. And, you know, I think the President has very skillfully made that a catchphrase for both himself and his followers, people who support him strongly. But I really think it's misused. I think it's almost become a throwaway phrase, perhaps overused so much that it's been diluted. Lately, the news, every day it's something. Every day there is something, whether it's something the president says that raises eyebrows and makes headlines, or it's a tragedy somewhere, a shooting somewhere or something. You know, it used to be, earlier in my career, yeah, you'd have bad things happen, but there would be plateaus of normalcy, if you will. And then, you know, yeah, something happens and you rev up and you cover it, but then things kind of return to normal. Now it's like boom, 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 boom. It's like there's never really a break of you know, school shootings or office place shootings or political strife or wars somewhere. And so, you know, one of my passions, I think, is at the end of the week or when I'm not on the air, if I'm on vacation or something, as hard as it is, I need to kind of deprogram myself a little bit and step away and take a little break from it. Because especially if it involves a lot of tragedies, you know, school shootings, cops getting shot, whatever, one right after another, it can weigh on you when you have to talk about it every single day. So, you know, believe it or not, one of the passions for this news guy is to step away from the news, even if, you know, for a weekend or a week. Good afternoon. I'm Steve Scott. Good afternoon, I'm Steve Scott. Good afternoon, I'm Steve Scott. WCBS News Time now, 4:31.